Hello, Internet. Today we're going to talk about the greatest franchise in the history of film. Better than Star Wars, better than Indiana Jones, even better than Porky's. I'm talking about the Fast and the Furious. Welcome to Burman's World, Fast and Furious Edition. So it's time for my Fast and Furious review of all the Fast and Furious movies. There's 8 movies already, 3 more in the works, and if there's ever a time they stop making these movies, atheists around the world will rejoice because there will finally be proof that God doesn't exist. In the first movie, Dominic Toretto, that's Vin Diesel, and also the name of my future child, and his crew are street racers in Los Angeles. In the last movie, they're part of a clandestine secret operation and the only ones who can save the entire planet from nuclear destruction. Just imagine the leaders of the free world gathering around thinking, oh no, cyber terrorists are trying to trigger nuclear war. Who can we get to stop them? The CIA, KGB, Army, Air Force, Marines? Anyone who's trained and qualified to stop terrorists from committing nuclear war? No! We need street racers from LA! I mean, the trajectories of these characters are amazing. A prime example. In the second movie, Ludacris is an ex-street racer who now arranges high-stakes street racing events. In the latest movie, he's one of the greatest computer hackers in the world, with the ability to hack into any software imaginable. They just neglected to mention that he had this ability in the second movie when he was busy organizing street races. No other movie franchise in history has had their characters go this far off the beaten path. Like, imagine if Rocky Balboa gave up boxing and ran for Senate. Imagine if Indiana Jones sold all his relics and started an Arby's franchise. Imagine if James Bond started street racing, then became an ex-street racer who now arranges high-stakes street racing events. And Dom, Vin Diesel, everywhere he goes, everyone knows the legend of this street racer from Los Angeles. The guy goes to Cuba, Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, all over the world. Everyone treats him like he's the second coming. Some random guy on the street in Abu Dhabi is like, oh, that's Dominic Toretto, the guy who drives cars really fast. So first movie, pretty simple. They're street racers, and the movie is basically Point Break with street racing instead of surfing. Yeah, Paul Walker is Keanu Reeves, Vin Diesel is Patrick Swayze, and Gary Busey is played by a moldy sandwich. The question I've always had about this movie is, how do they have all these street races in busy metropolitan cities and never get a speeding ticket? I got a ticket for going 6 miles over the speed limit in Walcott, Indiana, a town with only 7 people living in it, and yet somehow nobody in the Fast and the Furious movies gets pulled over. Second movie, Too Fast, Too Furious comes out, and to be honest, nobody remembers it. I think they introduced Tyrese and Eva Mendes. Ludacris had a big afro, and they drive a car in a boat. That's the movie where they drive a car in a boat. Other than that, nothing. Then Tokyo Drift came out, and that's when they said, screw you, physics, we are going to drift. And if Bill Nye has a problem with that, the science guy can kiss our collective ass. We're drifting, damn it. And for the record, I know you can actually drift, but not like they did it in the movie. So get your hands off the computers, internet nerds. Tokyo Drift introduced the character of Han, the coolest guy ever, but he dies in the movie. However, everyone likes him so much that they say, screw it. This movie, the third movie, is actually a prequel, not a sequel, and in the fourth movie, Han's back. And then he dies again in the sixth movie, like he did in the third movie. But then, also in the fourth movie, Michelle Rodriguez, the most badass actress ever, also dies. But in the sixth movie, she comes back to life. With amnesia, but still, she's back. Okay, so to recap, the guy who died in the third movie is actually in the fourth movie and then dies for real in the sixth movie. And the girl who died in the fourth movie comes back to life in the sixth movie. And I need a chart or a graph or something because none of this is making sense up here. So let's just move on to Fast 5. Fifth movie comes along, and before I talk about the fifth movie, I need to get this off my chest. I have a girlfriend, and I love her very, very much. That being said, if The Rock asked me out on a date, and not just as friends, but a date, I'm talking Chardonnay, bubble bath, heavy petting, I'd have to say yes. You have to. I love women, but The Rock is #1 on my cheat list, right next to Cloris Leachman, Elizabeth Shue, and Sylvester Stallone. Anyways, The Rock comes into the franchise, and it goes from being just an enjoyable franchise to the greatest damn franchise in the history of film. The Rock fights Vin Diesel, and for the last 4 years, whenever my girlfriend wants to get me in the mood, she puts in a DVD of Fast 5. And so in the 6th movie, The Rock, who was fighting against them in the last movie, teams up to stop a skilled mercenary organization led by Owen Shaw. Of course they stop him, but here's where the series knew it had a problem. The Rock was a shot of adrenaline in a movie that was based on adrenaline. So how can you possibly get more adrenaline? By adding Jason Statham, who starred in the movie Crank, about a guy who dies if he runs out of adrenaline. Wait a minute. Jason Statham, Vin Diesel, The Rock. So before I talk about the awesomeness of the 7th movie, you have to have a moment of sorrow. Unfortunately, Paul Walker died while filming this. And there's a tribute to him at the end of the movie. It's incredibly emotional. Like, you looked around the theater and all the guys were trying not to tear up. There's only a couple movies where men are allowed to cry. Armageddon, Up, Marley and Me, Mrs. Pettigrew Lives for a Day, and now, as crazy as it sounds, Fast and Furious 7. Moving on, back to Statham. This is when we not only go off the rails, we destroy the entire concept of rails altogether. This movie has everything. Cars flying out of planes, Kurt Russell as a special ops director who mainly talks about beer, a machine that can hack into any computer in the world, The Rock busting out of his cast by flexing, Vin Diesel driving through 2 of the tallest skyscrapers in the world, and Dame Judi Dench. Wait a minute. Dame Judi Dench wasn't in that movie. That'd be like Helen Mirren joining the franchise. Oh yeah, Fast 8, Helen Mirren joins the franchise as Jason Statham's mom, which makes me really excited for Vin Diesel to join Helen Mirren's The Queen franchise as Prince Edward.
Honestly, at this point, I'm tired. I don't know if I'm man enough to talk about the manliest franchise in the history of the world. This movie, we get Charlize Theron, who seems to be challenging Michelle Rodriguez for most badass action hero of all time. The Rock stopping a torpedo with his bare hands and... Wait, what? The Rock stops a torpedo with his bare hands? I think we should end it there. We have to end it there. So where do we go from here? Where can these writers, who have all suffered aneurysms just from writing the previous movies, go next? I've got 2 words for you. Outer space. Let's make it happen. And I will gladly play Charlize Theron's evil henchman Niles, who hacks into NASA and inadvertently starts an intergalactic space war. A war that, of course, can only be stopped by a bunch of street racers from LA. If you want to see more, be sure to like, share, and follow. Why aren't you liking, sharing, and following? Don't go to another page on Facebook and look at pictures of your ex-girlfriend. It's not gonna end well. You're better off liking and sharing this video. She's not coming back, dude. She's not coming back. Let her go.